You're listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline with your hosts, Danielle Cuomo, CEO, and Nicole Galicchio, L, COO. We are here to provide you with a vital lifeline to executive advice that you've never heard before. We have the resources and the tactics to help you reach the next level. Whether you are just starting out or you've been in business for decades, listen in for exclusive tips and content to meet your needs. Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average CEO Lifeline. Today, we are talking all about time, your solution to time and productivity with our special guest, Jamiee Campanella. Thank you, Jaimee, for joining us. I am looking forward to this. I know a lot of our listeners struggle with managing time and how to use their time preciously. So your advice is going to be invaluable to them. Can you tell them a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for having me here today. So excited to be speaking with you and your audience about time. So for those of you who are just getting to know me, Jamiee Campanella, and I'm a time strategist and productivity consultant. And I mentor and guide parents, professionals, and entrepreneurs to restructure their time to actually create their dream life vision. I'm also the creator of the Time Power Method, which gives people the essential tools and strategies to avoid overwhelm and tame the chaos so that they, again, can actually be living the life by the design that they want. In my premium service, Time Power, I do a home edit of your life and your business. So my goal is to turn you into organized powerhouse and have systems and structures in your life to restructure your time so that you're living the life that you want to be living. A little bit more about me. I'm a mom of 2 young boys. I'm a wife. I'm a business owner and an entrepreneur. And professionally, over the last 20 years, I have been turning chaos into smooth running machines across large corporations, small businesses, and non-for-profits. And it's through my professional experience and being a business owner and a mother that I developed my signature method, Time Power. And let's see what else. In addition to all of that, I also run and I'm the CEO of a virtual services agency where I support small business owners with the actual resources to outsource aspects of their business so that they can make their lives simpler and easier and experience having more time freedom. That's me in a nutshell.
We have such similarities in our backgrounds and bios. It's funny to me, except I'm a mom of 2 young girls and not 2 young boys. But I'm sure you get asked this question all the time because I do. How do you manage to do all of that? Or how do you manage to do everything you do all in one day? I obviously have my own methods that work well for me, but what do you see people are doing wrong with their time and productivity?
Well, it's so funny because, what people think, how they think to solve that problem of not feeling like they have enough time is by filling more things onto their schedule and their to-do list. Like so many people say, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so tired. I'm so busy. How do you get everything done in your day? And then they think, okay, the only way that I'm going to solve this problem is by, taking another goal setting or resolution workshop. Or they say, oh, I'm going to just change my morning routine. How many people say to me, well, I've tried adding 17 steps to the 17-step morning routine, walking through grass, cold water plunges, gratitude, yoga. And I said, you're already busy and overwhelmed. And now you've just added 17 more things. And you wonder why you're exhausted by the time it's 9 a.m. Or other people try to solve this problem by using more apps and using more technology that they find they buy it. It's too hard to use. They don't figure out, so they don't even use it. Or they find, I'm going to buy this new Atomic Habits book. And these people tell me, I've got 5 new books. I've never read them. And I said, well, you're telling me you don't even have time to sit down and eat your lunch. And now you're expecting that you're really going to read a book about this situation. So my biggest thing that I see people are doing is they're not identifying what the key issues are, and they're just adding more and more and more to their plate in an effort to solve the problem, but they're actually getting more stressed, more overwhelmed, spending more money, and exuding more time into things that are not actually giving them the reprieve, so to speak, that they want.
Yeah, those apps, I can't tell you how many times I talk to entrepreneurs and they have maybe 25 apps, and I have to ask them, like, which apps do you actually use and how much are you spending per month on all of these apps? And when they get rid of
Hmm.
them, they're like, I can't believe that I just saved hundreds of dollars a month on
Yeah,
the apps.
actually, did you know that on average, business owners are spending between $5,000 and $15,000 on all these different solutions? And these solutions are what's causing them to feel more overwhelmed. It's costing them their time and their money, and they're just not solving their problems. So it's an easy go-to. So I think that this is the biggest problem, adding more, using band-aid solutions. Like, I don't know, I think I was the first sucker to be like, oh my God, meal kits, Hello Fresh, this is going to be the answer. If I could just get help prepping the veggies for dinner, then my life will be easier. But I tried every band-aid solution out there. I tried outsourcing too quickly. That didn't work. Everything has to be in alignment with what you really want. Otherwise, it is a time and energy leak. It's a suck of what you already don't have enough of.
So where do you advise people to start? Where is their solution going to be kickstarted?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that I always advise people to do is audit their time. People have no idea where their time is going. It's so easy to say, I don't have enough time to do this. I'm late because I was this, or I overbooked, or I think people don't really have that clear look in, and they need to do an audit. And that's kind of hard for people to do on their own, to see those invisible gaps. Where am I spending too much of my time? Where am I not spending enough of my time? So you really need to audit what the situation is in your world before you can really make changes. So that's one thing I always say, get a clear picture of what is in your situation. And the other thing I always tell people is, we need to be clear about your vision. This is not like a templated solution. And that's my whole thing with time and productivity. There is no template. I know that's another problem. People are trying to buy these planners and templates and fit into some solution, but everyone's situation is so different. Whether you have kids or you don't have kids, whether you're running 2 businesses or 3 businesses, whether you have a team or you don't, it's just so unique and personal, every situation. So I also encourage people to get really clear on their vision. How many days a week do you want to be working? Why are you working? What are we working towards? And so many business entrepreneurs do not have that clear vision. So they're just filling up their days and not at all going where they want to be going, or having the experiences or the lifestyle that they want. I always use this analogy because I think people can relate to it so much. It's like building your dream house and, not having a blueprint. If you buy a piece of land, an architect would never start working unless they had a really clear blueprint. And most of us, when we start our businesses, we don't have a really clear blueprint, and we're just building this house brick by brick. And the fact is, we're building all these walls, but nothing is connecting. And it's not at all looking like the dream house we thought we wanted or thought we were working towards. And I think that's where a lot of frustration comes in. We're staying so busy, we're hustling, and the result is not why we started our businesses or why we became CEOs to begin with.
I think it may also be hard for people to step back, right? And say to themselves, okay, this house isn't what I wanted it to be. I think that's a hard realization, and it's going to take them back, right? They may start feeling depressed or overwhelmed. What tips do you have for them if they are starting to feel like that and they're realizing, I'm wasting my time? It's not going towards my vision. What kind of, motivational things do you have for them? And if that's what their brain is processing at the current moment?
Well, I think taking that step back is so important because, like I said, when you're so in it, it's hard to see. So taking that step back and really defining what that dream house is. Okay, yes, it doesn't look like you've been building towards something. It's not what you wanted, but taking a step back, and what is it that you want to create? What brings you joy? What is the purpose of your life? What story are you creating? Start with the end result. And most people don't do that. They start with just going, but you have to kind of work backwards. What is it that you want to use your life to create? Because my whole thing is, time is your story. Every minute of your day is your lifeline. This is the way you're spending your time is your legacy. And so if you're just living your life wasting time or spending time unintentionally, you'll always feel like there's not enough of it or that you're disappointed. But once you're clear on one of your goals or one of your something you're working towards or the vision that you want, then you can make really conscious choices and be intentional with your time, because you are going to feel really good. Like, I am going in that direction, versus being in reactive mode all the time, just dealing with what's coming at you, versus being proactive about your life and being conscious about what you take on and what you don't take on, for example.
I was reading through some of your stuff, and you have on your website, Time is a Gift. And
Mhm.
that, I think that really relates to a lot of our listeners. Don't waste your time if you're listening. You take
Right.
Jaimee's advice. So my next question for you, Jaimee, is what are common limiting beliefs entrepreneurs have?
Yeah. So almost every entrepreneur that I speak to has these deep rooted, limited beliefs around time. They just feel like they wish they had more time. They don't have enough time. They ran out of time. They're constantly late because they ran out of time. They forgot to do something because they didn't have enough time. And they're constantly expressing disappointment with time. And they're in this state of time scarcity, and they have just learned to believe that is the expectation of time. And this is a very deep rooted issue that people have around time. And what happens in these belief statements that I hear is essentially what people are CEOs, entrepreneurs are saying is, time is doing something to me, or time is against me, or time is out to get me, or we're basically blaming time. We're acting
Mm.
like victims of time. And I think this is the biggest common limiting belief people have, that we are a victim to time. Time is just happening to us. And this is the biggest shift that I work with people to make, because the truth is we are in control of our time. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's true. From waking up in the morning to brushing our teeth to whatever we're doing every day, how we're using our time, it's a choice. Nothing is happening to us, unless, of course, we're being held hostage, but that is not the case
Right.
for any of these people.
I
Um,
hope not. I hope
I
none of
hope
our
not.
listeners are being held
Yes, yes,
hostage.
exactly. But I mean, but that's the thing. I know it's such a weird analogy, but people are acting like we are prisoners to time, that we're being held hostage by time, and forgetting that every moment is a choice. And people have a hard time accepting that. And so it's this ingrained limiting belief that time is just always going to not be on my side.
As an executive, we know that it can be difficult to manage your work-life balance, find time to tackle all the items on that to-do list, or determine next steps to bring your business to the next level. Virtual Assist USA is your solution. Whether you need someone to help you with those daily tasks, or you would like to speak to someone about strategies for the next steps for your business, we are here to help. Find us today at www.virtualassistusa.com to find out what else we can do for you.
So how can you help our listeners feel more in control of their time?
Absolutely. So one of the first things I do with people is invite them to change this mindset, to shift the way you think and believe time is serving you. And one of the simplest ways that you can do this is by changing your language around time. Because I believe the way you speak about time, how you treat time, how you spend your time is how you attract it. So we talk about this a lot with laws of attraction when it comes to money, but I believe time is more valuable than money. So we should really be putting this into practice with our relationship with time. So very practically, one of the most immediate changes someone can make today, hearing this podcast, is stop yourself from saying, I don't have time. Because when you tell people you don't have time to do something, you're usually failing to take responsibility for how you're actually using your hours in the day. So I believe that language shapes the way we think, we feel, and we interact with the world. So if you can simply stop saying, I don't have time, it can be a very powerful action. Again, the more you tell people we don't have it, the more you believe it, and the more you're living in a constant state of time scarcity. So, okay, everyone says, okay, great. Now, what can I say instead? So I'll give you the answer to that as well. So a simple way to replace this sentence in your vocabulary is simply by saying, it's not a priority, or no, or maybe it's, yes, I'd love to do that, but I need to revisit that next month, next week, next year, whatever's applicable. But in these statements, the responsibility comes back to you. You're demonstrating that you're in control of your time. It's not that you don't have time. It's just not a priority for right now. Or no, it doesn't work. You're making a choice. So taking responsibility for your time. And I can give you a little bonus exercise to that. If you have to practice this in real life, a good, nice check and balance is if you find yourself about to say, I don't have time, like number one thing people say is, I don't have time to exercise. So if you have to change that to exercise is not a priority for me, well, you have a gut reaction to that. You know that that's not true. So that is an impetus to, okay, I do need to make time for this. So when you take responsibility for your time, your priorities really become clear as well.
I love it. I love it. I think a lot of people like to use time as an excuse as well for not holding themselves accountable.
Yeah.
And it can be a hard realization that, even just the simple, I don't have time to exercise, what's the deep rooted reason that you are saying you don't have time to exercise, people may not want to face.
Exactly.
So my last question that surrounds time for you before we get into, not being your average CEO, what are common mistakes that fuel people's sense of this lack of time?
Taking on more than is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are not really actually clear about their time capacity. And so they try to keep stretching time by adding more and more and more to it. But there's we all have a capacity. I always say, I don't believe in time management in the traditional sense, because I don't believe that you can manage time. I believe that you can only manage yourself within time. So when you're looking at taking on this or taking on that, I just encourage you to consider, what is your actual capacity? Do I have something else booked at that time? You literally cannot do two things at once well. And I think this is the biggest mistake people make, is just keep adding more and more onto your plate, but not having the conscious awareness of, it's actually not possible for me to do both of these things. So I do need to make a choice, or I do need to reschedule, or I do need to say no, and have that caution of boundary that you're just, by adding more to your plate, you're just pushing your capacity. And then you just burst, you get into that state of overwhelm and exhaustion and resentment. And that's the biggest thing as business owners and CEOs. Most of us have created these businesses because we're passionate about something. But the more we go into that stretch over capacity, we actually start to resent the thing that we love the most. And so by managing yourself within time, I want to help you avoid that and stay in the place of balance and joy, and ensuring that your actual attention is in alignment with your intention. What is it that you want to experience?
While you were responding to that answer, I'm looking to know if you have a one-liner that you typically say to people, because I'm sure you get this all the time. When they say to you, I wish I had more time in a day. Do you have a one-liner or one sentence that you typically say to them when they say that to you?
Well, my go-to is, I would say, the truth is you aren't lacking time. You're lacking structure, because I think that that's what it boils down to. We all have the same 24 hours in a day.
We do.
And we can't, like I said, I can't give you 30. I can't stretch it. I can't give you more than what we have. So I don't think it's about lacking time. As humans, we've agreed to 24 hours a day. We live our life around that. So it's not about time blocking. It's about structure. It's about vision. It's about making sure that you're in alignment with what you actually want to be doing. If you set yourself up to do 100 things in an hour, then yeah, of course you're going to say, I wish I had more time, because you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you set
What
yourself up for success, then you're going to have a very different experience of time.
So what made you, I'm going to call you a master of time and productivity as, not being your average CEO? How did you get to this point where you have seemingly mastered your time and your day?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can share with you my short story of,
Your short story works.
well, okay. So there's so many branches to this, but professionally, time and systems, that was always my thing, right? I was a master of that as I was growing in my professional context, but everything changed for me once I became a mother. And it was after my second son was born, I decided I wanted to create a business so I could work from home, be present with my kids, and experience this sense of true life balance that everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And I knew, the tools and systems and strategies and all that I had learned professionally would be instrumental, of course, of how I maintained all of this. But then, my business and my family began to grow, and I just felt like I was always fighting with time. So it was like a whole new level of working with time, being a mom and managing a household and a family. And I just found myself always really disappointed with how much time I had, and, working later to compensate. The kids and the clients seemed happy, but I stopped doing my daily walks. I stopped my personal creative time. And I was just always tired and overwhelmed. And I felt like all my time systems had kind of gone out the window. And so even though my business that I had created was successful, I was just burnt out and overwhelmed, and I lost my purpose. And I saw this was the same with a lot of the CEOs and entrepreneurs I was working with, that it didn't matter how much money we were making, that nothing seemed to matter when we really weren't present for our life with our kids or with our business, and constantly cycling through these same symptoms, exhausted, burnout, fighting with my husband, fighting with the kids, whatever it was. And, I had the agency at the time, and I kept trying to give people solutions, like, here's another assistant to do that. Let me create a new system for you. And I just realized that until I changed my relationship with time, that none of these things were going to work. I could have all the most innovative tools for time management, but unless I changed my relationship with time, I felt like I was always going to be on that cycle. And that was kind of the gem for me, that I had to change my relationship with time and bring in healthy structure into my life. Otherwise, nothing else really mattered. I had to take control of my time in a way that I hadn't ever done before, and shift my relationship with it so that it would serve me.
My experience is similar, Jaimee, except mine, I felt like I was trying to do everything all at once before I had kids. And I thought to myself, how am I going to manage all of this and time with my kids and live what I feel is a successful life for myself if I can't do it now, right? So mine changed before I had kids. And now that I do have two kids, it's, been reset, right? I've had to take another step back, a couple years into it.
Right.
But it hits you in the face, or at least it hit me in the face. And I hope that our listeners, it's hitting them in their face now, so that they do take a step back and
Sure.
they think to themselves, let me reassess my time and maybe get rid of all my apps and assess where I go from here, so that I can get time and my productivity, increases.
Mm-hmm.
My last question for you is, can you explain to us what being not an average CEO means to you?
Yeah. I have this stereotype in my mind of a CEO in the like old school sense, right? Like, I see this man in his suit, and I see like running the office and running the team in this like macho business first kind of model. So when I think about the not the average CEO, I think of myself, or the vision that I have as a CEO for my own company and just as a leader. And I think of that as being a CEO that leads with heart. I see it's a CEO who has skills and qualities of like being a good human being and taking care of my business through intention and acknowledgement. And I see that going beyond the lines of the policies or procedures or things that come to mind when you think about the CEO, the operating officers, and thinking about wanting to be something different in this world, like running with clarity, running a business with courtesy and with kindness. And to me, that's not your average CEO in the stereotype that I think I grew up with.
Thank you so much, Jaimee. It has been a pleasure hearing from you and for resetting our mindsets in regards to time. I think it is invaluable and imperative that our listeners do so. So can you tell them where they can find more from you?
Yes, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn at Jamiee Campanella Co. And I want to offer something to your audience today. If what I've shared with you resonates with you and you're ready to go deeper in this process, really do that time audit of your life. Where is your time going? Create that vision and the structure. I want to invite you to book a complimentary consultation call with me after listening to this podcast, because I'm feeling very inspired and on a mission to help more CEOs really reclaim their time, really change their relationship with time. I suffered so much and I don't want anyone else to have to go through that same process. So I want to share the wisdom that I have. So I just spontaneously want to offer that today is book a free complimentary consultation with me. And if you're interested in taking this a step further and taking action today.
Thank you. That's so wonderful, Jaimee. We will make sure that all of your links are in our descriptions on our social media so that if you are interested in talking more with Jaimee, you can easily do so. Thank you again so much. And I hope to maybe have you on season 3 and you can give more in detailed steps on how everyone can improve their time and productivity.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thanks, Jaimee. You've been listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline with your hosts Danielle Cuomo, CEO, and Nicole Glitchio, Els, COO. This podcast has been sponsored by Virtual Assist USA. If you'd like to know more about the hosts or exploring virtual assistant services, visit virtualassistusa.com for more information.